Hello Fiddlers, today we're reviewing the board game Root, a game of Woodland might and right.
Hi everyone, we're Fiddl, where we gather around the table to review and fiddle around with board games because that's what we enjoy doing.
So Root is a 2 to 5 player asymmetric strategy war game where players take on roles of different factions vying for control of a vast woodland. Root is designed by Cole Whirl, art by Kyle Ferrin, and published by Leather Games. Today, we're joined by another fiddler.
Hi, I'm Wayne.
Hi, my name is David.
I'm Marc with a K.
I'm Marc with a C.
I am Dan.
I'm Martin.
And we're gonna talk about how this game plays. We're gonna look into artwork. We're gonna examine the theme of the different factions. We're gonna look at gameplay elements and overall experience. And finally, our overall thoughts. So, what do you guys think about Root?
We're diving in with the art, right?
Yes,
Okay.
let's talk about the artwork first.
So this game, as you can see, it's very cute, it's very amazing. The artwork itself, using animals as the theme, they are very on point with the gameplay and what the game wants to portray.
Yeah, I think that artwork-wise, this game is deceptive in nature because you have very cute woodland creatures just battling it out in the forests, right?
Yeah, and I mean, you wouldn't even expect this game to be a war game
Yeah, that's
because of
true.
its cute theme.
I mean, how do you expect cats to fight? Right?
With birds and things like, mice and
Yeah.
otters and
I
stuff.
mean, how? Right?
Yeah, I totally agree. The artwork is very enticing. That it looks like a very simple, playful, and easy to play with, but that's not true.
Yeah, it's deceptively cute.
Yeah.
So Root's artwork is actually like visually appealing, as Marc said, and full of personality and characters. But again, don't be fooled by those cute critters. This is not like your usual cutesy game. This is actually a war game.
So the artwork is actually made by Kyle Ferrin. Actually, it kind of reminds me of those cute Japanese style, what you call those chibis? Chibis, but more westernized cartoon.
Yeah, I like the cartoon style of the different cards and the different animals. You can even see the colors in the cards really pop out. And each card has their own personality. You can see the woodland creatures doing different things, like putting other mice in baskets, for example, or doing target practice, right? So each card really has their own personality. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
Yep.
Every faction has a story to tell.
I also want to add the artwork of the map is very nice. I like the details that they put on it. But I have to say with this minis, it's okay. But compared to Marc's here with the 3D printed minis, it just made the game more
Extra special.
extra
Extra
special.
special.
Yeah. extra special.
Now that's the right time to use that word.
So we have to agree with Martin there na the wooden meeples, the
Cardboard.
cardboard,
yeah.
the cardboard
Tokens.
elements, the cardboard tokens, they're beautiful. But again, with the 3D printed miniatures, I really don't want to go back playing with the wooden meeples.
Yeah. It
It's-
really
it's
elevates
just-
the experience.
It elevates the experience of the game.
Yeah.
It's putting you into another level when you're playing with the 3D printed ones.
It's like a different world.
But again, it doesn't affect the gameplay. Otherwise, it just puts more adds to the experience.
Yes.
Does
Yeah.
the card have different artwork for each card?
Yes.
Yes.
Ah, awesome.
And by the way, the miniatures here do not come with a base game
Mhm.
or any other
Disclaimer.
expansions.
Yeah.
We got it 3D printed and painted. So
Customized, right?
yeah, the original game comes with the wooden meeples and cardboard. So yeah.
Link on the description.
Also, back to the map,
Link.
I guess. I think you could also see that it's really done well. Like everything is clear. All the which pathways to
Yes.
go. The details on each area is also clear. So I think it says a lot about the artist.
Yeah.
He's very generous and creating the world.
I have to say though, even if you said that the map is really good when it comes to the design. But because we have meeples here and the clearing suits in the map is it's hard to tell when the map is populated with so much meeples.
That's also true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's also true.
So that's why we have this to indicate.
Yeah, the 3D terrains, they do come from an expansion though.
Yes.
So you
I
can
see.
purchase
Oh, really?
this. Yes, you can
I
purchase
didn't know
this
3D printed. Okay.
from an official expansion. I think it's a terrain pack, if I
Ooh.
recall correctly.
Oh,
And
awesome.
one thing also I would like to add, there are individual boards for each of
Yeah,
the faction, and it's quite intuitive in a way that you'll be able to understand how you will
Yeah.
be progressing all throughout the game. It contains instructions for each faction, and then what the things that you can do.
Yeah. So I would like to add to that. So the game's iconography is actually top notch. So the icon put all over the place. You can actually know what it is, what it does, and then to add to the player aid. So this is an asymmetric game. So most of the players are doing different things. But if you look at their player aids, you actually know these are the things that they can do, and you can easily know that by just looking at their player aids, and that's one of the thumbs up for this game.
Users can easily follow, but just by looking at their board, their player
Mm.
characters. Yeah.
Everything is legible and you can easily read it. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So how about the overall theme? What do you guys think about woodland creatures and how these woodland creatures interact?
Oh, I do like some classic wars.
For me, this is like an entry game for, like, let's see, you have kids in your house, or you have players who, well, let's say war game, they don't like war game, but if they see this, like these cute creatures, you're playing with these cute creatures, they're like intrigued on what you're doing.
Yeah.
And in that way, the group actually achieved like putting players who don't like board games to play this game, to play war game in general.
Yeah, I agree. Personally, woodland creatures plus factions plus adventure plus a war game is a perfect theme for me. It's a good combination.
Yeah. How about you guys?
I mean, yeah, I would agree that it's a good introduction to war game, but at the same time, it's also hard to learn.
That's true.
Yeah. But overall, the theme, I guess, woodland creature is a really good theme. I don't know why, but it reminds me of cartoons you watch as a kid.
Yeah.
So I guess that's why it feels homey.
Yeah.
But
They have created a really wonderful world for this
Oh.
game.
This game actually reminds me of one of my favorite books when I was a child. I don't know if you have read about it. It's called Redwall. And
Redwall.
in Redwall, it's about woodland creatures having, castles and taverns and stuff, and battles with other woodland creatures. So it kind of reminds me of that and brings me back to my childhood. But then again, similar to what we said, the art, the theme is deceptive because at its core, this is a war game.
You cannot win just by building things or going around the board. You cannot win with just that.
Yeah, the factions win differently, right?
Yes.
Yep.
So if we go to the gameplay elements, you can see that each faction really has their own way of going through each round. And if you read each board, just like what Mark said, you could really get the flow of each faction. But the thing about that is because of its asymmetric nature, there might be difficulties in teaching this game, right?
yeah.
But I do like the way that they laid it out in each player board because the gameplay is quite strict. You need to follow a certain flow for you to be able to run your faction properly.
Yes.
Okay? How about you guys? What do you think of the overall gameplay elements?
Well, in terms of gameplay, this is my first asymmetric game actually. It's quite nice to play a game with a different approach than the way you use playing board games. Like everybody has the same thing going on. And doing asymmetric allows this type of board games allows you to be more creative in how you want to play the game, because you could actually also try to ally with some factions that are not that can benefit you can benefit more on. While it's also a competitive game that you have to win by doing it alone, you also have to work with others from time to time, just to get there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Negotiation is a great tactic in this game.
negotiation is really good, and I love games with negotiation.
Yeah. Just like other war games that I've played, this game is also heavy on that. Although it's not explicit in the rules, but you could do actions that could benefit other factions.
Yeah.
And that's why there are temporary alliances, as I refer to call it in this game.
Yeah, that's the right word. Temporary alliance.
So actually, that's one of my favorite, what do you call this, favorite aspect of Root. Root is actually about social interaction and negotiation. So you want to be this player, but you want to outmaneuver them without them really knowing what you wanted to do. And that's where Root really shines. The player drives the narrative, the social interaction aspect of it, not the mechanics.
That's true. And let me just echo one of the things that you said. Each faction really plays differently. Like if you're playing the cats, then you would want to build a lot to gain points, for example. Or if you play the Eerie, you would want to secure positions with your roosts, right?
Yeah.
If you are the Woodland Alliance, you would want to make little rebellions around the forest, while being a vagabond means that you go around either supporting other factions or battling other factions, like a lone wanderer,
Or
right?
doing
Yeah.
quests.
Well, just a quick disclaimer though. Each of us has a different experience in playing Root.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Mark here has the most experience. I think I have a lighter experience in Root, but I kind of understand the game. Basically, back to the game. Like everyone's goal is to reach 30 points, but each faction has different ways of reaching 30.
Yes, that's true.
Yes.
And back to the gameplay, like everyone has 3 phases. Do the same phases. There's
Birdsong,
daylight, evening.
evening.
Everyone has the same faces, but they just do different things.
That's true.
And I think that's what makes it more familiar, and the way it's laid out on the board. It's easy. I think if you played once, your second time would be easier to grasp.
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed during my first play, because when I did play this for the first time, players were having hard time doing their doing their actions during that time. So since this is a turn-based game, everybody takes their turn, and it takes some time in the first play, trying to familiarize what you're gonna do. But let me reassure you that the next time you play these games, oh my god, everybody's just boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, there is a steep learning curve for these factions, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't just look at your faction, but you also look at how other factions benefit from what you're doing and how you're supposed to stop other factions' engines. So there is that degree of interaction with these factions, and that's what makes Root really interesting. And if you switch to another faction, it's like you're playing a different game,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
That's how it
That's
feels.
what makes the game replayable itself.
Different but familiar.
That's true.
Yes, very true.
And what happened to me is when I switched, I never went back.
All right. What else? What else can you talk about gameplay elements?
So, as they mentioned that the game itself has negotiation and tactics, but once a player has been put down and cannot really catch up for the whole game, they will have a hard time catching up, getting points. For instance, the Irie Dynasty, if they have no roasts in the board, roosts in the board. They only have one roost for the recovery, and from that they have to recover from the start, and they will have a hard time catching up with the points. This is not just true to the Eerie, I think for every faction, although you can still negotiate with the others, so just so that you can catch up.
Yeah, that's why there are some mechanisms in place that you can use to catch up with the other players. For example, there are cards in the deck that you could use in terms of dominance. So that's another alternate way to win, where you secure areas. It changes your 30-point goal into securing areas so that you could win even if you're from behind, right?
Yes.
And there are expansions that kind of fix that king-making problem, that hard to catch up problem. For instance, in the future other expansions of Root, we have the Hirelings expansion, for example, which helps with that catch up. So yeah, it kind of compensates for that problem.
That's nice. That's nice to know.
Yeah,
Well, if you want to be a strong starter, I would suggest you play the Marquee.
that's true.
That's true.
Marquee faction.
Marquee
You know,
faction.
if you want,
Yeah.
if you want to have really strong points at the start of the game, I would strongly suggest you play Marquee. But then the way Marquee gets points, you know, it becomes harder and harder the more it gets later in the game.
That's true.
So it's kind of something that you have to, you have to
Maintain.
understand how you're gonna play the game as well.
I would agree. The Marquee is the friendliest when it comes to beginners.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But the other factions are a bit more complicated. It requires, multiple plays. What else can we talk about in terms of gameplay?
So for me, based on complexity, I won't highly recommend this for who was new into the hobby, into the board game. I won't highly recommend it because it takes time to learn this. It also takes about like 30 to 60 minutes to teach every faction. But yeah, it's really fun though. I kind of have that feeling of playing a video game like StarCraft or Dota. Like you have that different hero with different skills. It's overall a great game. But yeah, based on what also David said, once you played it once or twice, it's gonna be a much easier game to play.
It's a steep learning curve, but after you gain past that learning curve, it's
Smooth
kinda worth
sailing.
it. Yeah, it's worth it.
Yes, it's
Sure.
pretty much worth it. Especially when you factor in that there are many other factions that you can, mix and match with these other factions. The variability is there, but the learning curve is also steep. Okay? So even though you might have difficulties learning each individual faction, and especially if you factor in the other expansions and stuff, but at the end of everything, if you see how the factions interact with each other, the push and pull between the different factions, you could see that it's really interesting. The design is pulling me in.
Yeah.
And I think also back to accessibility. Like I think one of the cons for this game, I guess, would be I know it's a lot to take in, but it's kind of hard if you play the game with new people all the time
That's
because
yeah.
you keep on teaching. So I guess one of the things for this game is if you want to play it again and again, it's better to play with the same
Players.
group.
Yeah.
So you won't have to keep on explaining. Because
That's true.
I think the one who teaches the game is it takes up a lot of mental energy for the person who teaches the game.
That's why they usually
Okay,
lose.
David. Okay, David.
But what David said is actually true. So if you want to really learn the game and enjoy the game, you have to play with the same players. Playing with the same player lets you strategize with the same faction that you want to play. For example, if you're playing with the Eerie, this time I will try to play the long con, like win later, play my roost and snowball my win, or I can turmoil early and just recruit early and turmoil and then play the offensive early to win the game. There can be a lot that you can learn with the same group in your
Yeah.
game.
That's true.
But if you have the mental energy to teach the game, then
Okay,
why not?
David.
Bring more
I'm
people
not-
to the
I'm
game.
not-
Yeah. So,
Yeah, David.
I also want to add that if you're having a hard time teaching this game using the board game, you can actually teach the game
Through
using
digital.
through the digital app.
That's
So
true.
it's available through Android and the PC through Steam. There you can play it solo and you can learn by yourself. The AI on the Steam app or the digital app is actually good. So there's that. So if you're, as David said, if you don't have the mental energy to teach the game,
Like how David said.
No, I feel bad for Mark. Mark with the C, because he's the one who keeps on
It's
teaching
Mark.
the
It's
game.
Mark with the C.
And like, I learned in a very different pace. I learned very not really slow, but it just takes time for me to.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
wins later.
The problem with that is David plays with the cat first, I believe, and then the next time he played with the Erie, so he don't remember how to play the cat anymore. So, so you have to teach him again how to play the cat.
Yeah.
So
it takes a while.
It takes a while.
But once I understood the game, I won.
Wow!
I won the last game.
I have to ask though, for you guys, how many do you think the number of players best fit for this game?
So for me, as long as the minimum is 4, so with 3 players, it's kinda you have like space to you can run into. With 4, the board becomes compact, crowded, and then it's kinda what do you call this? It's limiting your action in a way that it makes the game faster, but you can play more strategize. You can play more strategy with that.
But how with 5 players, 6 players?
I
What do you
think
think?
that the best player count for me is 4 players. 4 players. But you need to be careful about the different factions that you put in. Because if you go back to the rulebook, for example, there are certain factions with lesser reach, which means that they might have lesser presence on the board. So there's actually a very right way to do it, to combine the factions so that the factions that you play are balanced. But usually we don't really mind that in our games, right?
But max player is 6, right?
Yeah,
We-
you
we-
could
yeah,
force
but-
it at
yeah.
6, but technically it's up to 5.
I
The
see.
official.
Yeah, the
Okay.
official is up to 5. Up to 6, it might take 3 to 4 hours of gameplay.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
How-
Well, you have
it's
less
quite
resources
longer.
How long was our game?
Usually, when you have 4 players, around 2 to 3 hours.
But does it make a difference between 4 or 5 players?
Not so much.
Not so much.
But the 4 and the 6, though, that's where it really makes a difference. Especially when you have a combination of newbies and a combination of experienced players.
Yeah, I think it would depend on the experience of the player. I think
Yeah.
6 player is okay if everyone is experienced, because I don't know how much the difference is, but the game is a race to 30 points. So there's a possibility every round you gain a point every round. So it kind of just every round you gain points. So at least I think it's so slowly but surely you get to 30.
Yeah,
Yes.
but the
So-
waiting time is quite long.
Quite long.
Yeah, that's one
for
thing
sure.
I noticed also during the game. You have to kind of wait for your turn, and if someone's taking a longer time to take their turn, then it affects the rest of
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true.
the
Oh.
turns and the time as well.
Also, there's like, for example, on your turn, you can like gain 5 points, but this guy can gain more points during this turn if you don't hit him. So I can gain 2 points, but I can gain 2 points this round, but this guy won't gain 5 points on his turn. So there's that decision you have to make. So it can make the game longer.
Yeah,
I see. Yeah.
I agree with Mark. I think the minimum would be 4
4.
players, but I have a different excuse because I think playing with
Oh,
3 is kind of
excuses now.
have you have to ally with just you do negotiate 2 people or 2 people will just directly attack you. 2 people will be your enemy.
Right,
So
Mark?
but with 4
Players
players,
gang up on the
Yeah.
one player.
at least with 4 players, you have like at least 3 choices to team up with them and then just betray them
Oh,
afterwards.
it become 2 versus 2, and in the end, 1
Well-
versus 1.
Well, if there's a faction that really is really good with trying to go with each of the side of the I mean going with everyone around is the Vagabond. I
Yes.
think.
Yeah, that's
It
true.
basically plays for everyone.
You can play for
okay, I can play for you, but you have better. I can play for you as well.
But this can also happen to any faction if
Yeah.
you are that kind of person. If you really want to, just negotiate everyone.
But there is a possibility to play this at lower player counts and still have the same experience. We haven't tried it in our games yet, but there is a Hirelings expansion that allows you to play better at 2. So that is quite interesting as well.
Oh.
Maybe we can try it
Someone
in the
to
future.
ally with.
But that's the
Just
again, that's
bloodshed all over. Kill.
But again, but two-player, like, it might work, but also it might not work for you. Since
Yeah.
again, as Martin said, this game is a negotiation and social interaction game. The more players, the merrier this game is.
Yeah.
That's how I see.
I
this
think
game
it
is.
depends on what kind of player you are.
What kind of player you have on the table
Yeah.
as well.
Maybe not with your girlfriend.
Especially not.
Or your wife.
All right.
All right. Let's proceed. I won't answer that.
Don't do
Okay. So overall thoughts about Root?
I mean, it's definitely a recommend, especially for those who wants a spice to their game.
That's true.
For me, I really love the experience playing this. It's a game that I really want to play from time to time because you have like like what they said, it's a good replayability. You have different factions or different characters to play from, so you won't get bored that quickly. And then depends on your the players who you're playing with. So yeah, I think it's really fun. I love the overall experience. I can play it all over again and again. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, Root is actually one of my favorite board games out there.
The root of your passion.
The root of your
bankruptcy.
The root of all this.
And unlike other games I've played, which has a little bit of asymmetry with each faction, in Roots there's a whole lot of asymmetry. So things like what? Board games like Rising Sun or Blood Rage, they introduce a little bit of asymmetry, but here in Root, your actions, your phases are quite different, so that's what I really like about it. And overall, it's a very good experience, especially if you're really committed to learning these different factions and seeing how they interact with each other. So, of course, I would recommend it, especially for those groups who, keep on meeting, playing war games. I would recommend this game for those people. And overall, I really like it.
Alright.
I would recommend that you would keep this in your collection if you can
Yes.
really get the expansions, the base game, and so on. How about you?
Right. Quick disclaimer, I don't actually own the physical copy of this, but I have the digital copy. But since 2021, since Marc introduced this game to me, for 3 consistent years, this is one of my top games. Or actually, this is my top game. So this is my top game because of the asymmetry, as Marc have explained earlier. Asymmetry-wise, this is really, really good and really well
Well
designed. All right.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend this game for players who are looking for a challenging war game with a charming theme, as you can see. And also, I highly recommend this for players that want war game with a consistent group and want to play this over and over again. So that's it.
Especially if you're a competitive.
Especially if you're
Everyone here is competitive. We like to trash talk each other.
So much.
Yeah. So while Mark has been playing this for 3 years, I've been playing it for 3 plays. And I can say from experience that I like the game. And I know. But I really love competitive games. And if you're the type of person who wants to play, more competitive with your friends, this is the right game for you. I played a lot of war games, but playing with an asymmetric ones, allows you to think more than just how you usually work with the usual
That's true.
war games. Since you're not playing with the same style, you also have to think how others would want to play and how their gameplays affect your gameplay as well. And another thing is I really like playing social games and negotiation games. What's the name? The
Bluffy.
No, the card that allows you to trade with the planting game. But
We'll add that on the
yeah, maybe next time.
We'll add
But
that
yeah,
on
I really like
the link below.
negotiation games.
Or let us know in the comment.
And nobody wants to negotiate with me. That's the parody with the irony of that, di ba? So if you're the type of player that wants to play, this type of games, negotiation games, social games, and then war games. This is the perfect board game for you. I would personally say this is my among the war games. This is my favorite actually.
For me, yeah, it's worth to have in your collection. The only problem is accessibility. If you have, new people to play with all the time. But to quote Marc before, this is what he expected Sight to be. So
Oh, no.
if you're the type of if you're the person who doesn't like the gameplay of Sight, I think this is a good alternative.
Yes.
That's that.
All right. So overall rating from 1 to 5, what do you guys think?
So yeah, for me, I will personally rate this 4.9. But if it's these miniatures, the 3D printed ones, honestly, because it really for me it makes the gameplay more enjoyable. It adds more spice to the game.
0.1%.
Yeah.
So if you want to play with Martin,
Yeah.
you better have those.
Yeah. You can have those,
You don't play with the wooden meeples.
So, but if not, I'm gonna rate it 3.9. So yeah, but overall, it's a good game. Really love this game, and yeah.
Okay. For me, I would rate it 4.6 with those
Minis of
limited minis. The minis really spice things up
Yeah.
or makes the game much more enjoyable. With those minis, I would rate it 4.8.
All right. Base game alone, maybe I would rate this game around 4.5 out of 5. Base game. Because if you play it over and over again with just the base 4 factions and the base cards, then you would see repeat strategies eventually.
Eventually,
Yeah. But with the expansions, in the expansions there are additional maps, there are additional factions and landmarks and, things that could change up the way that you play Root.
Yeah.
I think I would give this a 5 out of 5 with expansions.
Wow.
Actually have a higher rating. So this is a 1 to 5 rating system. But with the base game, I will rate this as 6. That's how I love this game. 6 with the wooden meeples and 7 with the. No joke. I really love this game, the artwork and when I play this game, especially with the right group, I really enjoy it. I always go home with a smile on my face. Or
Even
I-
defeated.
even defeated. I'm actually
You heard that, Leather Games?
actually more when defeated. So when defeated, I think what strategy could I have done better. So with I think I have less than 20, like 15 to 20 games per faction for this game. So with those, I'll rate this with 5 out of 5. So that's a perfect game for me. This is a perfect game.
This is the first time we have a 7.
Yes.
This is really
7 for the minis.
Yeah.
For me, in a rating of 5, I would give it a 4. 4 mainly because I enjoy everything, the gameplay, the artwork, how it's as in the words of Marc again, it should have been sight should have been played like this. So
I
totally
have
agree
nothing
on that.
against outside, right?
No, that's not true.
I love
I would
Sight,
like to make that clear. That's
but
not
this
true.
could be better.
Sight.
But side could be better. I love
Okay,
Sight,
okay.
it could be better.
But my main
James Stegmaier,
the reason why
listening.
it's 4 for me is the time it
Jamie.
takes for your turn to go back for you.
Yeah.
Especially when working with new players.
Take
The
a while.
downtime.
It could
The
take
downtime. So that's why I
Could take
have
a while.
a rating of 4. But but if you work with experienced players, the experience might be far better.
Yeah.
For me, I have the same feedback as everyone, but I rate the game 4.5. But I see it going to a 5. It's just that currently I only know how to play 3 factions.
I see.
So once I learn the other factions, I think, most probably, high probability
Yeah.
that would get to 5.
All right. So there really is a story to tell, whether you lose in this game or whether you win in this game, right?
Yes.
Yes.
In every play, there's something new. And really, I would recommend that you find a copy of this game and put it in your collection if you're interested in this kind of game. Now, before we end, don't forget to like and subscribe to our videos. There will be more content like this in the future. And thank you so much for listening. Bye, Fiddlers!
Bye.
And today we're joined by an extra. And today we're joined by another fiddler.
Balik.
Pwede na ka sa ano. Today we're sa...
We're joined with a with an kuan
With a special...
with another
Ay,
fiddler.
Another fiddler.
Munitik mo sa utong. Special, no? This pwede
Ano,
special, di pwede extra.